Hi, I just wanted to make a quick video to say a little something about this week's assignment because it's actually going to be the prompt that we have is going to be one that we use for the next couple weeks, and it's going to inform the rest of our conversations as well. So if we think about oppression as an endured experience of dehumanization and trauma that is systemically embedded within our cultures, our institutions, our communities and families, and our psyches, then internalized oppression is this integration and internalization of that dehumanization, of that experience. And it's a process that we go into where we're either told or we tell ourselves, or we begin to tell ourselves after we are told, that the experience that we're having of an external reality that is traumatic, that is dehumanizing or disaffirming to who we are, our brain and our body or our soul, we take it on and begin to tell ourselves that this reality exists because of me. And we say, I deserve this pain. I deserved this because I'm bad. Because my skin color is bad, because my gender is bad, because who I love is bad, because how I love is bad, because I wasn't enough, because I made them too uncomfortable, because I wasn't being X enough, I wasn't being my race enough, I wasn't being rich enough, I wasn't being able-bodied enough, I wasn't worthy of what I wanted. I don't exist enough. I don't matter. And so we begin to tell ourselves that, and that's the internalized depression piece. And so what I really want you to get is that limiting beliefs, gremlins that we have in our mind, this chatter, mistaken beliefs, whatever you call them, these are dehumanizing beliefs. They are beliefs that keep us from seeing our wholeness, beliefs that keep us from seeing our truth, from seeing our okayness. And most often they are a huge, huge part of internalized oppression. Because at the core of these systems of oppression is dehumanization. Systems of oppression as a whole, would not exist without dehumanizing ourselves and dehumanizing each other. And so the prompts for the next couple weeks is really about taking a bigger scope of these systemic belief systems, cultural belief systems that we're engaging with on a daily basis. And so the prompt for this week is to, as you're looking at the resources and videos, audio, whatever, as you're even just looking at your world around you, what are the stories that you continue to hear about a specific system of oppression? This week we're talking about white supremacy, next week we're talking about the patriarchy, the week after we're talking about capitalism and classism. And so as you're digging into it, look at the stories. What are the stories that you continue to hear about whiteness, about gender, about money? What are those stories? And then also, what are the beliefs underneath those stories that keep those stories going? And what are the ways of being that keep those stories going? And so to pull out these things and keep a list of the things that you see as they correlate to a specific system of oppression. Here are a couple more questions that might help you. What stories do you see showing up in what you're watching or reading or listening to? What beliefs keep those systems going and those stories going? Who's included and affirmed in those stories, and who's excluded or disaffirmed in those stories, and why? That why piece is really important because that is where those beliefs show up about who's worthy and who's not. And how do you see these beliefs and stories and ways of being, how do you see them showing up in your personal life? How do you see them showing up in your work, in your coaching, in your healing, in the work that you do with others? And how do you see them showing up just in your like larger community? How do you see them showing up in your world? So for a quick example, I'll take the prison industrial complex, because this is something that we won't talk about a lot in this, specifically in this next 10 weeks. But it definitely has like deep roots within white supremacy, deep roots within the patriarchy, deep roots within capitalism. And so it connects to all of it. And so one of the big beliefs that keep, or rather it's more of a story that we tell about prison, is that justice, in order to get justice, the perpetrator of a crime, of a specific act, must be punished. That justice equals punishment. And that's one of the stories that I've pulled out, and it shows up in so many places. It shows up all over our media. it's all over it, especially like Law and Order SVU is one of my favorite shows, and I'm kind of getting to a place where I cannot even stand it because justice equals punishment in that show. That's how the law system works. That's how the justice system works, is we get justice by punishing. We get justice by giving community service. We get justice by putting somebody in a jail cell. We get justice by putting somebody to death. And that is what justice is. And so even saying that and saying that that's a story, and it deeply, deeply relates to patriarchy and white supremacy, we get to look a little bit at, is this true? Is justice actually punishment? Is punishment a way to achieve justice? And what is justice anyway? What is the definition of justice? And we get to look at that, and that's some of the stuff that we're gonna do within our time together over the next 3 weeks, is take a look at these stories that you're pulling out, the beliefs that you're pulling out, and the ways of being that you're pulling out that relate to whatever the topic is for that week. And we're going to take a look at it and say, so what's a more humanizing way to look at this? And also, how is this showing up in my life? Because that punishment thing shows up with children. It shows up in our schools. It shows up in families. This is how we deal with when children make mistakes, when children act out. We say, you are suspended. We say, you get a timeout. We say, you, some people whoop their children. And so it's embedded within, like, this is how we deal with mistakes, is by punishing people. And obviously I'm not about it. Like, I'm not, I am against prisons. I don't take on the identity of prison abolitionist, because I don't feel like I have done enough work or have enough context to even be able to call myself that. But I am against prisons. Prisons are not the way that I see liberation happening. That there's no way. And so this is your prompt for this week and next week and the week after, is to look at the resources that we've put onto the site for you, to look at them, read them, and pull out and ask yourself, like, what's the story that's going on here? What's the belief that's going on here? How is this upholding white supremacy? How is this upholding the patriarchy? How is this upholding capitalism and classism? And pull those out and bring those into our call, our next calls. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you, and let Cameron know as well if anything's coming up for you. Also, use the Facebook group. If there are things that are coming up for you over the course of the week about this assignment about, and you have questions, or you just are challenged with something, take it to the Facebook group and share it with us, and so that we can have some good conversations about it. Thank you so much, and I will see you later.